Welcome back to another episode of the Work It, Live It, Own It podcast. I'm your hostess, Sekola Lair, and work-life harmony strategist. This is the place to be for women who are done with burnout and feeling guilty for prioritizing themselves and who are looking to harmonize their life and career that feels good, not just on the outside, but also in the inside. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I just don't feel like myself anymore. I don't feel as energized as I used to. My clothes don't fit on me comfortably like they used to. You're showing up for work, you're holding it down for your family, and you're doing all of these things. But in reality, you're just running on fumes. And that sparkle in your eyes, well, it's kind of missing in action because you're out here chasing more coffee, more lists, more motivation, and you feel stuck in fatigue, brain fog, or mood swings. And so today's episode, I'm hoping this is going to be a reset button for all of us because the way back to ourselves doesn't necessarily start with more doing. It's about what we're actually putting on our plate. And so today I am joined by Alana.
Thank you.
Alana is a naturopath and a holistic nutritionist who helps women reclaim their energy, their balance, and their moods to help them feel like themselves again without crash diets, without calorie counting or perfection. And I love this because, Alana, before our conversation, I went onto your website and here's some things that resonated with me. I've worked with naturopath and holistic nutritionists before, and it does work for me. I will be that testimony. It does work for me. But here's what I loved about Alana's website. The very first thing you'll see is what she says is, I won't see any before and after photos or talk about hopping on the scales, following radical diets, or enjoying a cheat day. Because the healthiest weight isn't about being skinny or depriving yourself of the things you love. And then you go on, Alana, and you talk about nourishing ourselves from the inside to elevate our vitality, our body's agility, and to be able to walk out the house with confidence, letting go of outdated food rules that have kept you where you are and aligning your actions with your personal goals. That so resonated with me because I'm one of those women, let's just be honest, if I get on a scale and I don't see the results, and I have been trying, not for a day, but for a couple of weeks, and I've either increased or I've stayed stagnant, I get depressed and I'm like, okay, let me just dive into the bag of chips. Why not?
Yeah,
Right? So guys, I want you to give a warm welcome to Alana Bonnemann. She is coming to us all the way from Germany. So thank you. Time difference here, but thank you, Alana.
Thank you so much for being here. Your whole introduction was so wholesome. I was like, yes, the inside out. I mean, isn't that where we all need to be focusing a bit more? So yes, I resonate with what you're doing as well.
Thank you. I honestly feel if we feel really, truly well on the inside, it's going to show on the outside as well. It will start to show up. And I want us to dive into a conversation today for our listeners out there. Thank you so much for coming back and tuning in. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for tuning in because in this episode, we're going to be diving into why women over 30 often feel off, even when they think that we're eating what we think is healthy. It may not just be healthy. How to fuel our focus and reduce stress through everyday food choices. That's a biggie. And simplify or simply just shift to bring our bodies back to balance ourselves, to harmonize everything from within so we can fully show up in our careers, in our lives, and everything in between. So guys, grab your drink. Alana says she's feeling cozy where she is right now, but I'm on water today. So grab your drink if you can, take a deep breath, and let's get into this nourishing conversation.
I love that.
So, Alana, tell me just a little bit, how did you delve into the path of holistic nutrition?
Well, I grew up in a household. My dad was a chiropractor. He was always banging on, health is wealth. And another thing he'd say is the power that made the body is the power that heals the body. It was always a bit indoctrinated, I guess, from a young age. And as, you go on, studies become a big thing. And when I wanted to study, I thought, Well, in the end, I'll study something that perhaps even if I don't make a career out of it,
Mm.
which I did in the end make a career out of it, but even if I didn't, I would still be able to help myself and my family. It's kind of a double win. So that's where I took my path. I took down my path down naturopathy, which is also homeopathy and a bit of herbal medicine. And I'm from Australia. And since moving to Germany, I've gone just into diet because we're eating every day, several times a day. And it's
Mhm.
the easiest thing that we can perhaps, I don't want to say control, but it's the easiest thing that you can make adjustments to start seeing changes. And I thought, well, it's the lowest hanging fruit. And it's actually not that difficult, although there are a lot of layers to it. So this is how I kind of got into not just nutrition, but taking a holistic approach to nutrition as well.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. Seems like you had a really good upbringing because a lot of us, depending on where we are in the world, and it's amazing to me when I look at other cultures and how healthy they still eat. There's always vegetables in their diet or at every meal. Where I am, I'm just going to be honest. In the States, we are not healthy when
Mm.
it comes to eating. So we are eating all the time. So, what would you say to someone that says, hey, I eat 3 meals a day. So, why am I still tired all the
Mm.
time?
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for acknowledging that. I did grow up with a bit of a maybe head start or just, the idea of being focused around that. But when I look at America, Australia, Europe, the Western world, we're all incredibly sick, I want to say, almost. And it's not just food. Of course, there's a lot that plays into that, but food is a large part of that. So the idea of eating 3 meals a day comes down to even why are we eating 3 meals a day? Like, who says that we have to even eat 3 meals a day? If you go to a standard dietitian or nutritionist, they might say, yeah, 3 meals a day with snacks in between, that's what you need to be having. But I would argue when you're eating, are you eating because you're hungry or are you eating because it's time to eat? It's breakfast time. Guys, we're getting it out of the house, get to school, get to work. It's breakfast time.
Right.
Who says that we have to eat because it's 8 o'clock? So that's the first thing that I would kind of challenge one with. I like to always come back to our body, listening to our body, and how we can work with our body. So I would first ask, are you eating because you're hungry? Or are you eating because of the food rules we taught? Another food rule is you have to eat everything on your plate in order to get dessert.
Mm,
Do you know that
big
one?
one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so these are they're completely arbitrary food rules which got placed on us. And the question is, do we need to be following them? So your question is actually, I'm eating 3 meals a day. Why am I tired? Well, so apart from are you eating because you're hungry, or are you just eating because it's a societal thing? Or I'm out to brunch. I've had breakfast, but we're at brunch, so I'm supposed to eat brunch, right?
Right.
Well, if you're not hungry, do you need it? And again, it's a social thing, and we need connection. Food's very important, but does your body need it? The second part to this is, well, what are you eating? Out of the foods that you're eating, are you eating the foods that are going to give you energy, that are going to allow you to be vital, or are they the ones that are really difficult to digest? And your digestion takes a lot of energy. If you've ever had lunch and afterwards you just need a nap, yeah,
Yes.
it takes
Yes.
a lot to digest food. So, yeah, what are we eating? So that's kind of why are we eating, firstly, and what are we eating? So even if you're eating 3 meals a day, they're the two biggest parts that I would kind of focus on first.
I'm glad you brought that up because there have been times I'm like, why am I so tired after
Mm.
eating? Like, yeah, I need a nap. And I realize my body is working overtime to digest whatever it is that I just ate. Or we feel compelled to finish everything on our plates. I still have that debate with my
Mm.
husband that, okay, if I say I'm full, he's like, okay, but what about all this food here? You're not going to finish it. And I'm like, listen, if I'm satisfied, then I don't want to eat. I don't want to stuff myself because if I do, I'm miserable, right?
Mm.
But then you can't help sometimes how you grew up, saying,
Mhm.
hey, you need to eat everything on your plate, even if it means stuffing yourself or, knowing we kind of desensitize that signal in our brain that sends that message to our body that says, hey, I've had enough
Yeah.
and I'm done. And that's more harmful to our bodies. So
Mhm.
let me ask you this, Alana. If it is a thing about what we're putting on our plates, then what should we actually be eating in order to boost our focus and stay energized all day?
Mhm. I mean, this is you probably hear everywhere online because people I feel like even at the end of my whole entire health science degree, it was like the one thing that we got taken home with. It's like, eat your protein. I don't know if you probably heard it. And
Yes,
as we go through
yes.
menopause, it's like, oh, the protein, it's awfully important. You need your protein. And now a protein shake this and protein bar that. And it's just, like the pancakes are now just protein and not
Yeah.
pancakes. It's just, it's getting out of hand. But also, this is what stabilizes our blood sugar levels. So, for example, we eat an apple. Yes, it's healthy, um, but it's going to spike our blood sugar levels. And then after 20 minutes, they'll drop again. And with a drop in blood sugar levels, our energy will also drop. So, if we're just kind of having an apple here, drop, and then a carrot here, drop, we're not really plateauing these levels. If we, for example, our first meal is, let's say, yeah, I don't know, an omelet or perhaps a yogurt, something which is higher protein, and then if we have a snack or our next meal, whenever it is, if it has a good quality protein in it, it actually sustains these blood sugar levels. So that's when it comes to focus and energy, this is one major thing we're thinking about. So it's the protein in every meal and snack, which can actually be quite difficult to find, but if you focus it, it's not that hard. It's just, yeah, bringing food in. The second to that is, okay, we have protein, but there are also essential minerals and vitamins that we need for our cells to function. For example, iron. You can be eating all the protein you want in the world, but if you're anemic, then you're not going to have any energy. So, firstly, it's probably good to get a blood test done, see what's
Mhm.
going on in your bloods. If you're anemic, maybe you need, some iron in your diet. And this is going to then increase your energy levels. So when we think about micronutrients or minerals and vitamins, then, the diversity in what we're eating, this will allow us to have, to nourish our cells and nourish our body as well. So
Yeah.
it's very easy to just kind of say, think about those things. But when you're standing in the fridge or in the supermarket, it's like, oh, okay, geez, where do I get my zinc? Where do I get my calcium?
Right.
Diversify what you're eating. Don't eat the same thing every day. If you've eaten this today, don't eat it tomorrow. This is an easy way to kind of get a bit of diversity into your diet, which is not only good for the micronutrients, but also for your gut microbiome, which we know is important for our mood and how we're feeling, and also our mental health as well, which I would also argue mental health is also got to do with our focus and our productivity and us functioning as, humans as well.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. And it wasn't until I went to a naturopathic doctor where they look at you holistically and not just treat the symptoms. So I am a firm believer that that is important. And it opened my eyes to a lot
Mhm.
of things. And it also helped me to realize, like you mentioned, apples and carrots, those are high glycemic foods. So they're going to spike your blood sugars. They're going to allow you to crash. But I had to learn what's low glycemic foods look like.
Mm.
What are those middle or medium glycemic foods that I can have every once in a while? Because you
Mm.
do need that source of energy from your foods.
Mhm.
And I'm at that place right now where I'm in this new phase of life. And what worked for me in my 30s is not necessarily working for me now. So I had to go back and I had to, hopefully, I'll find out a good plan this week. But a doctor I just went to did like a full diagnostic on me. And she laughed and she said, I'll leave you a little bit of blood by the time you leave here. But I realized that my leptin levels, no one has ever tested my leptin levels before. They're off the charts. And when I was
Mm.
doing research, I found out, and this is, I think, where it stems from, where people are overeating and don't even realize it, that when your leptin levels are high, it cuts off that message from your brain to your stomach that says, I'm full now. So you can eat. And what that looks like is you eat, and then 30 minutes later, I'm foraging again in the refrigerator going, oh, I'm hungry again. Well, no, the signal up here is no longer working because the leptin levels are too high. So blood work, like you mentioned, is so important. Get that blood work done. And a lot of times, I hate to say this, and I've had some doctors, medical doctors, who practice traditional medicine. They will do this, and I'm thankful that I've had that. But some doctors would just test the bare
Mm.
minimum, the basics. Whereas a naturopathic or holistic doctor, they're going to delve into, okay, what are the root causes for
This
these
is
symptoms
yeah.
that you are feeling, and food sensitivities. That
Yeah.
has a big part into it as well. I didn't realize that I love eggs, right? Eggs is a good
Mm.
source of protein,
Mm.
but my sensitivity to eggs is off the charts because my doctor said, do you ever feel like you're bloated and you're hurting then one day and you're trying to figure out what you've eaten?
Mhm.
And come to find out, eggs.
You love eggs? Yeah, I mean, getting to the root cause, finding out why you have symptoms
Hmm.
is the basis, I think, of holistic health, really, or naturopathic health. And, it's like I said before, it's like learning how to listen to your body.
Hmm.
Because, you're bloating and you're like, "Okay, why am I bloating? Something is not okay." So, you need to actually be a bit of a detective. Perhaps write down what you're eating just to find out what you're doing and why you're feeling this way. Your body will start to whisper at the start, and if you don't listen, it's gonna start to really yell. So, maybe that's acne that's popping out. Maybe that's real bloating or digestive issues. Maybe it is swollen, or irritable
Joint
joints.
pains. Yes.
Yeah. So it's going
Yes.
to your body's going to tell you if you're not doing what you need to be doing for your body, it will start to yell, and you'll feel
I
it.
Yes, I think that your body is your best teacher when it comes to how you're feeling. And I think a lot of times in society, especially in Western worlds and Western societies, we tend to ignore that because, oh, I feel a little gas. Oh, I have a little bloat. That's your body communicating to you that, hey, you may have a food sensitivity to this. You might be allergic. I didn't know I was allergic to corn. I didn't break
Mm.
out in hives or anything, but I would swell up. I would swell up
Mhm.
like 2 dress sizes. All my joints in my body would hurt. And I
Mm.
told my doctor, I said, "Hey, test me for certain foods that I was eating for allergies." Come to find out, highly allergic to corn. And corn is in
Yeah.
everything.
Everything.
So I literally have to read ingredients, guys. So please, blood work, get a full diagnostic panel on
Mm.
yourself. And then let's talk about
Mm.
the food bit because a lot of people say, yes, let's eat healthy, eating,
Mm.
getting better. But is it possible to eat better without spending hours meal prepping or giving up
Mm.
everything that I love?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a meal prepper. I like to kind of have a blueprint of how a healthy meal looks. So it doesn't matter if you're at the Italian, Japanese, Greek restaurant, if you're at an airport, if you're looking at a scarce fridge and thinking, how can I throw things together? This is like, you want to know how to put a meal together. That's, I think, the basis of it. And that comes down to the macronutrients, which I think everyone kind of knows, but, you know, everyone knows how to eat healthy. Like everyone knows ideally what it is, but we don't do it. So I'll give a quick rundown of what that is, right? If you put your hands together, palm-sized protein, half a plate of mixed, colorful vegetables. You can have a bit of grains, good carbohydrates, and some oil. So that's kind of a plate that you put together. If you had it yesterday, don't have it again tomorrow. This kind of thing, diversity. That's kind of what you're eating, and I guess that's a meal which you could throw together with leftovers. You could eat out and about. So it's not that hard to eat healthy. Um, but here comes the difficult part, which is the habits and the mindset of it. And then also, what you talked about at the start as well, like this, the cycle that we get on. I'm eating well, but it's not working. Oh man, stuff this. Okay, binge. I feel guilty. Oh no. Okay, now I'm motivated to start again. And it's just that cycle. It's that cycle. So and then we have these highly restrictive diets.
Right.
And you talked about, it was growing up in the 90s. It's something that we all experienced if we were kind of exposed to media, this heroin chic, this being super skinny. This is also what I say on my website. That's just, it's skinny does not equate to healthy. And that's what people kind of thought in the 90s. And it was like
Mhm.
skinny at all cost. And that's not the point. So the point is to eat well. The point is to feel well. And weight will kind of come with that. And it doesn't happen overnight. And I wish it did, because I think people want it to happen and you get disheartened. But, you know, if you're not getting to that feel good weight that you want, but you're not as bloated and you're having good bowel movements and you're sleeping like a champion and your menstrual cycle is regular, these are the markers that you kind of would like to go for.
Right.
But to get back to your question, so it was, how do we put a meal together?
Right. Without meal prepping or giving up everything I love. Because I followed plans before, but it's like
Mhm.
every single meal, I literally had to be a chef in my kitchen.
It takes
Were they
way too much
filling? Were they
time.
satisfying? And I stopped because I was like,
Yeah.
who has the
No.
time?
To do,
The
yeah.
recipes were great, but I'm like, I'm not,
And
I need a
yeah.
personal chef just to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as a practitioner, I don't use them because you might not want to eat salmon on a Tuesday or whatever it is, like it
Mhm.
doesn't, it also, from my side as well, it also doesn't work. So I really just like to, I follow the rules: eat when you're hungry and stop eating when you're satiated. This is kind of the first thing, to follow your body. And then what you are putting on your plate, don't restrict yourself. So even if you're, for example, not trying to eat as much sugar, or you're having and I would never encourage a full calorie deficit, but if you are having like a slightly lower calorie deficit, you're like trying to like take things out of your diet. And this is where it gets really wishy-washy too, because you're focusing on what you take out, and then you're functioning from a state of deprivation.
Mm.
And that's not nice. It's better to just focus on, what can I add into my meal? What am I putting into my diet? And when you focus on that, and if you're focusing on a good quality protein, and let's say, for example, a diverse range of vegetables, and that's just kind of what your main focus is for each meal, everything else kind of just starts to fall away. And I'm of the firm belief that you shouldn't have to like cut out sugar, or, you want to be able to eat cake and feel great, like that's the idea. But the thing is, if you eat cake every day, your body is going to ask for something more nourishing. And likewise, if you eat just salads every day, your body's going to ask for a piece of cake. So you want to be able to have this moderation. And this is where it also gets tricky, because if you've had a stressful week and you've come home and you're tired and you're exhausted, maybe you've got pets, maybe you've got family members that it's getting too much. It is easy to come home and just sit on the sofa, and eat some ice cream.
Mhm.
But here, like, the ice cream isn't the problem. It's our coping mechanism to stress.
Right.
That's actually, what's happening. Another extreme example, if you're an alcoholic, it's like the alcohol isn't the problem, or any type of, let's say, addiction. That's not the problem. It's the way in which we're coping with like a really thin nervous system. So that's what we have to address. And that's a lot deeper work that goes into the psychology, the mindset, the habits, rewiring old patterns, letting go of, stories that we have. That's actually a larger part of the work, and the neurology, like the pathway, making new pathways in the way in which you do things and create habits too.
Right.
So it's not easy. People make it seem like you just have to have quinoa salads and go to the gym and it's fine. But if it
Right.
was that easy, it wouldn't be such a widespread problem. And it's a worldwide problem, just understanding what to eat and how to eat it.
Yeah, because I think if it was that easy, then everyone would be doing it, right?
Mm,
It would be something, okay, let me eat my veggies. Let me go
mm,
for a walk. Let me drink my water and
mm,
poof, I'm down, right?
mhm,
And it's different with men and women. Now, of course we know with a lot of men, not all men, but a lot of men, they can go work out or say, hey, I stopped drinking sodas and in 2 weeks I lost 20 pounds. Okay, that's
mm,
great. That's not how it normally works for women, especially women over 30s. And I also dispute the old saying that, hey, once you're past your 30s, you're not going to be able to lose the weight.
Oh, that's
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 that's absolute BS.
yes, absolutely. I've done it in my
Yeah.
30s. I realized that something was off when I was trying to do it in my early 40s, but then I found out food allergies. Okay, what's
Mm,
causing me? Why do I feel inflamed? And
mm,
inflammation is a huge source of why we have chronic diseases. And if you figure out like corn, that is a big
yeah.
inflammatory food for
Mhm,
me. It also caused adult acne. Did not realize that. And so again, it has to be listening to your body. I would say again, if you get anything from this episode, get a full diagnostic, get that blood work. If you feel like you were saying, Alana, keep a food diary. I know that sometimes that's hard, but we all have a phone here, right? Write
mhm,
down what it is that you ate and you're like, okay, you know what? I had this yesterday. I wonder if I can get blood work and get tested for food sensitivity or food allergy. Food allergies are
mm,
usually covered by our medical insurance here, but to get a food sensitivity panel, I had to pay out of pocket for that, and I'm kind of glad I did.
yeah.
But
I mean, absolutely for your results that you found?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Just like I said, I'm devastated about eggs. Will I ever stop eating eggs again? No,
Mm.
I will probably still eat it, but I'll just know,
You do it with
hey,
intention and you do it mindfully.
right, right. So now let's shift a little bit because we're talking about we don't need to spend time with meal prepping. It could be something basic. Like you said, we don't want to I may not feel like eating salmon on a
Mm,
Tuesday, but how do we know that what we're eating is actually helping or hurting our hormones? Because we are talking
mm,
about women 30 plus. So,
mm,
how do we know if what we're eating is actually going to be helping or hurting our hormones and or
mm,
our mood?
mm. So when we say, I think I just want to clear one thing up first, because when we say
Mhm.
hormones, people usually think like reproductive hormones, so like our estrogen,
Okay.
progesterone, testosterone, but like hormones, we also have like these hunger and satiation hormones, our stress hormones, like we've got a cascade of hormones that's kind of like in our body that are all connected. So
Hmm.
we think of it like on a bigger level like this. Just because I think, when we are getting to like towards perimenopause, menopause, it's like what's happening to our progesterone and estrogen.
Hmm.
But if we're thinking about like I guess a feel good weight. One really interesting thing that I've learned over the years is how our society, and we can also put food into this, has changed and how humans have changed over the past, let's say, 100 years is like drastically different. If you can think
Hmm.
about just the industrial revolution, the agricultural revolution, and this technological revolution that we're in now, and just how humanity, like compared to our caveman days to now, like not much has changed.
Hmm.
Like for humans. So there's this huge, they call it the mismatch hypothesis. It's just like we're living like this, but in a different world. So we're trying to keep up, but our bodies thrive on like a lot of the primitive things, which I think why a lot of people follow this Paleolithic type of diet. I don't promote
Hmm.
any diet fully. I really try to get people to focus on themselves, but you know, we need certain things. So yes, food is a large part of that, but just next to that, good quality sleep, getting your eyeballs into the sunlight. This is also what is going to help regulate our entire hormonal system as well. So it's never just about one thing. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. It's never just about this food, soy is going to do this to your estrogen. Like, yes, on a very like micro level it will, but as a whole, the environment that we're living in, we need to make sure that from the air we breathe to the water we drink to the foods that we're eating to the light that we're exposed to, that everything is almost as near to natural, let's say, or as primitive as possible. And getting up in the morning and opening a curtain and putting your face towards wherever the sun is rising, that's free. Like, you don't need to pay for that. You don't need to do much for that to happen. And that is going to help your entire circadian rhythm. That's going to help you sleep better in the night.
Mhm.
That's going to help your, cortisol throughout the day. So, yes, I would say in regards to how we look after our hormonal health, all of our hormonal health, try and get back to as basic as possible. We try to like ice bath and do all these like fancy things these days. But
Right.
like, yes, they're nice, but
Mhm.
the boring thing is to just kind of strip it back to these basic things. And it's actually your body thrives on this. Your body doesn't want to be in really bright light late at night. It doesn't want to be on a phone. And the thing is, this, I know, everyone knows this,
Mhm.
but we're not following through with what our bodies actually need.
This is so true. So true.
Mm. And
I
yeah.
Now I know you were saying about fads and everything, but I can just relate my personal experience. After I went to the doctor and I got the full diagnostic and I started getting my lab work back and I was astonished. I'm messaging. I'm like, okay, what are we doing? She's like,
Yeah.
just wait till the next appointment. We'll talk, right? Because I'm like, it's a lot. So yes, it's going to take a dedicated appointment. But what I did was something just said to me, I said, you know what? I need a reset.
Mm.
And I said, I think I'm just going to do a water fast. This was just me. I'm not
Yeah.
promoting this for anybody. But I did a water fast and I said, I need to allow my organs, my body to just kind of reset itself. I did I think, 41-hour fast. I've done one before for like 52 hours. This is not bragging rights, guys. But what I noticed this time around is, and I'm actually doing one right now, is my sleep is better. I'm sleeping better. Like the synapses in my brain is on fire. Like I am more focused.
Yeah.
I have more energy throughout the day. I'm not as tired. I'm not allowing myself to sit behind a desk, to look at a computer screen, to look at my phone. My dad will call me and be like, I called you. Why didn't you call me back? 'Cause I'm not
Mm.
attached to my phone, Dad.
Mm.
I'm not attached to the electronic devices. So when you're saying strip it back, that is meaningful. That is impactful. And I think, 100 years ago, my grandmother, bless her heart, she is 99. I hope she makes it to 100 in a few months. But she lived differently than I did. The woman still eats whatever she wants now,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
But the stress levels, keeping stress levels at a minimum. When it was time to sleep, she slept. When she felt hungry, she ate. She didn't constantly snack. I never saw grandma just constantly snack. She just ate when
Mm.
she felt hungry. And I think that is true. We've got to learn how to get back to the basics. It's
Basics.
nothing wrong with that at all, getting back to the
Mm.
basics. Even naps, if we have that capability to take a nap during the day as an adult,
Yes.
there's nothing
Oh,
wrong with that.
it is better than
Taking a
10
break, going
coffees. Mm.
right, or the power energy drinks. Sometimes when I
Mm.
feel really tired or drained at work, if it's really nice outside, I'll go for a walk. And then I'll
Mm.
come back and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to finish out
Yeah.
instead of grabbing that sweet drink or caffeinated drink. But
Yeah.
let's flip it a little bit. I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit,
Yeah.
okay? You ready?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So some people say, hey, you know what? I've tried clean eating, I've tried all of that,
Mm.
but I didn't feel any different. Isn't this just another health trend?
Mm.
What
Yeah.
would you say to that?
Well, the thing is, you know what your body thrives on. You know what your body does not feel well on. And if you just make every choice towards, like, if I'm binge watching Netflix and it's 2 a.m., I'm going to feel rotten the next morning.
Right.
Something is like, I'll just keep doing it anyway because of this, that. But, we need to, I don't want to say discipline because it's not the right word. Discipline doesn't keep us. But, if we think about the feminine, the masculine, like
Mhm.
feminine's like very creative, masculine gives structure. At
Yes.
some point, we need to kind of bring structure into this feminine. And we need to say, no, enough is enough. And the thing is, if it's not now that enough is enough for you, you will get to a point, as I said before, where your body starts to scream at you. It will shut down, go into hibernation. Maybe you get a chronic illness, who knows? And you will be forced to make a change. So you either start now doing what your body thrives on, or you start later. It's not a question of if I should do this, it's a question of when you start doing it. And the sooner you start doing it and you bring it into every day, the easier it gets. And you will start to transform your body and your life, and in turn, your business, your friendships, your families, the way in which you function with your loved ones. It will start to transform because you will actually feel better within yourself. And this comes
Yes.
down to what we eat, what we watch, what we listen to, who we surround ourselves with, what we tell ourselves. Oh man, if that's not the biggest one out there.
Yes. Because our ears are the first ones to hear that. Whatever we speak out of our mouths, our ears are the very first ones to hear. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Mm,
yes,
mm.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And if we're starting our day saying, oh, well, I feel like crap and you
Mhm.
did this wrong, if that is the case, and for most of us, it's subconsciously happening anyway, address that. Find someone who can help you address that so you stop saying, this isn't going to work for me anyway. I've tried it before. That stems down to I'm not good enough. And I would be the first one to say, I know that feeling. I can't do this. That's this belief, that's a story that we've been told that is not true. It is not
Right.
true. And so if you start to fix that core problem, like real things start to happen
Mhm.
then.
You face those doubts, you face those fears and that negativity. And a lot of people, we just want to succumb to it because that's where
Mm.
we feel comfortable. We've lived it. We've existed in that. We
Mhm.
have not thrived yet. So you do have to retrain your brain. You do have to add structure into your life. We can't just always be fluid all the time. There's got to be some
Mhm.
structure in
Yeah.
our lives. So thank you. Thank you, Alana, for you've given me the recharge that I need. Like I said, I'm doing the fasting now, but
Yeah.
I got my doctor's appointment this week. And when I get back to eating and tomorrow, I'm always conscious now of
Yeah.
what I am putting in my body to fuel it.
Yeah.
And now that I know what foods to kind of avoid or just reduce, it's
Yeah.
going to make a big difference and it won't take immediate effect. But I'm looking for
Mm.
well-being and how
Yeah.
I feel on the inside, just having the energy to
Mm.
sustain throughout the day and say, you know what, when it is evening time, yeah, I feel a little tired now. I think that's my primary goal.
Yeah.
Guys, leave me a message at Work It, Live It, Own It on Instagram and let us know, Alana and I, what your goal is. It doesn't always have to be to reduce weight or to feel skinny. The goal should be, do I feel good? Do I
Mm.
feel energetic? Do I feel healthy? And here's what I want you guys to take away from today's episode is your energy is not a mystery. Your focus and your mood and your spark, they're all connected to how we are fueling our bodies. And the best part is you don't have to overhaul your life like Alana was talking about. You don't have to do that. It could just start with one decision, one plate, one shift at a time. And if you do have a piece of cake, guess what?
It's
Great.
fine.
It's fine if you have a
Yes.
piece of
And
cake.
do not feel bad about it. Do not feel bad.
No.
If you're going to do it with intention and enjoy it. Enjoy
Yeah.
every mouthful.
Yes, I've learned to just shift instead of, how you go to a bakery and they have this big old cakes, especially in America, they have big cakes, right? I go to a place intentionally like a bakery and I'll just get a slice,
Mm.
right? Because there's just two people in my home. I just get a slice. And if I want that slice of pie, I'm going to enjoy that slice of pie. And I'll just say, you know what, this week, that is my treat. That's my pie. And I've come up with other recipes that are also healthy and they're still sweet. It gives me that
They hit the
satisfaction.
section. Mm.
But it's still healthy. It's a healthier option. So again, guys, you don't have to overhaul your life. Is what Alana is saying, but you also need to retrain your brain
Mhm.
from the negativity, find out what the source is of whether we're eating emotionally. Is it emotional triggers that it causes us to get into that pint of ice cream at night or our cravings at night? And so this week, I want all of us to ask ourselves, how can I nourish myself and not just eat?
Hmm.
How can I nourish myself? What is that going to look like for you? Leave a comment at Work It, Live It, Own It on Instagram. And Alana, if there's a way for them to reach out to you to find out more about holistic and naturopathy or holistic nutrition, how can they get in
Yeah.
contact with you?
I'm on all the places, but just come to my website, alanabonnemann.com. You can call me. You can talk to an actual human. I like to
There you
chat.
go.
I like to chat about health. Ooh, I do free calls just to kind of get an idea for what's going on for you.
Mhm,
If any of what I do can help you, and then, to even just show you what the next step is, or
mhm.
what reflective questions do you need to kind of, that's where I need to go next.
Right.
Reach out to me there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alana. And if today's episode stirred something within you, don't let it be a fad. Re-listen to this episode, bookmark it, take notes, and try one thing from what Alana has mentioned today because you deserve to feel like yourself again, not someday, today. Continue to work it, live it, own it in your everyday lives, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Take care.